Mathematics, paper 1, known calculator, higher tier. You must show all your working. Answer all questions. Question number 1. Write 500 as a product of powers of its prime factors. So you do a factor tree. 500. The prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7. So 500, you split it into 2. 2 times 250. And 2 is a prime number. So we color it. 250 is not a prime number. So we split it into 2. 2 times 125. And 2 is a prime number. 2 is a prime number. And you carry on and you get to 125. You split it into 2. 5 times 5. So the prime numbers are 2, 2, 5, 5, 5. So 2 squared times 5 cubed. So 2 times 2 times 5 times 5 times 5. Question number 2, part A. Work out 1 3/5 plus 2 1/4. One way to do it, you add the two numbers, the whole numbers together. 1 plus 2. I put them in yellow. 1 plus 2, it gives you 3. So I've added the parts which are whole numbers. After that, I add the parts which are the fractions. So you want to add 3 over 5 and 1 over 4. Now 5 and 4, the denominator, you want to have them, choose the lowest common multiple. And that would be 20. You get 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 5, 10, 15, 20. 20 is found in the lowest common multiple. So 4 times 5 is 20. You multiply at the top, 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 5 is 20. 1 times 5 is 5. So you got 12 over 20 plus 5 over 20. You add the top, the numerator. 12 plus 5 is 17. And the denominator is 20. You put that together, the whole number plus the fraction. 3 plus 17 over 20, it gives you 3 and 17 over 20. Another way to do that question is to change it to improper fraction. So 1 times 3 plus 1 times 5 plus 3. 1 times 5 plus 3, it gives you 8 over 5. And 2 times 4 plus 1, it gives you 9 over 4. And you want to make the denominator the same. 5 times 4 is 20. 8 times 4, 32. 4 times 5, 20. 9 times 5, 45. 32 plus 45, it gives you 77 over 20, which you can change now to the mixed number. 3 and 17 over 20. Part B, show that 2 2/3 divided by 6 is 4 over 9. We want to change the left-hand side to look like the right-hand side. So that's the left-hand side. So to change it, we change this mixed number to an improper fraction. 2 times 3 plus 2. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 is 8. So it's 8 over 3 divided by 6. This 6, you can write it as 6 over 1. And you change the divide to a times. And then you flip that first fraction. It becomes 1 over 6. So you have 8 times 1 is 8. 3 times 6, 18. To simplify it, you do half of 8 is 4. Half of 18 is 9. Question number 3, simplify. Give your answers as a power of 2. So let's work with what is inside the bracket first. The base is 2 and the base is 2. So we add the powers. Minus 5 plus 8 is the same as 8 minus 5, which is 3. And then 2 to the power 3 bracket. To get rid of the bracket, you multiply those two numbers. 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6. So it's 2 to the power 6. We're giving our answer in terms of a power of 2. Work out 0.004 times 0.32. The technique for this type of question is multiply the numbers without the decimal places. So just multiply 4 times 32. Or 32 times 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. And you count how many decimal places. Let's count it for 1, 2, 3 for the first number. 1, 2 for the second. So 3 plus 2 is 5. So you want to go 5 decimal places. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where you put the decimal point, and under the arches, you put the 0. Or you can write it as 1.28 times 10 to the minus 3. 1, 2, 3. 1.28 times 10 to the minus 3. Question number 5. A car factory is going to make 4 different car models, A, B, C, and D. 80 people are asked which of the 4 models they would most likely to buy. The table shows the information about the results. Car model A, number of people 23. For B, the number of people 15. For C, 30 people said they would buy it. For D, 12 people said they would buy it. So the total, adding all of them, is 80. And they also tell us that in the question, that is 80 people. Sometimes they don't tell you that, so you have to add all of this to get that 80. The factory is going to make 40,000 cars next year. Work out how many model B cars the factory would make next year. That's model B there. How many model B cars the factory will make next year? So find expected number of model B. What do you expect the number of model B cars to be made next year? There's 15 of them. And the total of 80 times 40,000, that gives you 7,500. So it's the part over whole times 40,000, which gives you 7,500. Question number 6. Rizwan writes down 3 numbers, A, B, and C. A is to B is 1 is to 3. B is to C is 6 is to 5. Find A is to B is to C. What important thing to notice here is both of them have got B in them. They've got B in them. So we want to compare ratios and we can use any common multiple. They both have B in them. So A is to B is 1 is to 3. B is to C is 6 is to 5. So because they both have B in them, we want to use a common multiple to make B the same. So we got 3 and 6. A common multiple we can just multiply this one by 6 to make 18, and multiply this one by 3 to make 18. What we want is to make B the same. So when we multiply this by 6, we have to multiply A by 6 as well. If you multiply this one by 3, you have to multiply this by 3 as well. But you can use another common multiple. So 3 times 6 is 18. 6 times 3 is 18. And this one will be 6 is to 18 is to 15. So A is 6, B is 18, and C is 15. Now you can simplify. Divide all of them by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 18 divided by 3 is 6. And 15 divided by 3 is 5. Part 2. Express A as a fraction of the total of the three numbers A, B, and C. Let's add the total of the three numbers first. The total adding is adding A plus B plus C. So that's 2 plus 6 plus 5. It gives you 13. And A is 2. So it's 2 out of 13. Emma writes down three numbers, M, N, and P. N is equals to 2M and P equals to 5N. Find the ratio M is to P. Express all numbers in terms of one number. That's what you want to do. So here we want to make M the subject. So you divide by 2. It's times 2 there. If you take it to the left, it becomes divide by 2. So M for mother is N divided by 2. So we go into the ratio. M is to P. You want everything to be in terms of N. So you change M to N over 2 and write P as 5N. So if you notice now, we have N and N. We can start to simplify. You can multiply the left by 2 and multiply the right by 2. 2 times N over 2, the 2 will cancel. You're left with N. 5N times 2, it gives you 10N. And if you divide by N, N divided by N is 1. And 10N divided by N is 10. If you divide by N, the N will cancel. So it's 1:10. Question number 7. Pressure is force divided by area. That formula is given to you. A storage tank exerts a force of 10,000 newtons on the ground. The base of the tank in contact with the ground is a 4 meter by 2 meter rectangle. Work out the pressure on the ground due to the tank. So they're giving us that thing is a rectangle. So we need to know how to find area of a rectangle, which is the base. Area of the base, length times width, 4 times 2 is 8 meters squared. Using the formula, pressure is force over area. The force is 10,000 Newton. The area is 8 meters squared. 10,000 divided by 8. You can start by halving it. Half of 10,000 is 5,000. Half of 8 is 4. Half of 5,000 is 2,500. Half of 4 is 2. And then half of 2,500 is 1,250. It will be newtons per meter squared. That's the units. Two numbers, M and N, are such that M is a multiple of 5. N is an even number. The highest common factor of M and N is 7. Write down the possible pair for M and the possible pair for N. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get your 5 times table. That's the 5 times table there. 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 5 is 10. And then you get the 7 times table. 1 times 7 is 7, 2 times 7 is 14. And then I've got a chart underneath there for the even numbers. Even numbers are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. So the pairs of values, they come in pairs of values. You can get M for Mike, you can have 35, and N for November, 14. 35 and 14 will have a highest common factor of 7. And N for November is an even number. And M for Mike is a multiple of 5. And another one you can get is M35. So M for mother is a multiple of 5 is 35. And N for November is an even number is 28. So that's another pair of numbers. Question number 9, complete the table of values for y equals to 6x minus x cubed. So what you do, you substitute in the values. Say we start with -2. We put -2 for x there. Put -2 for x there. So that gives you 6 times -2 minus -2 cube. 6 times -2 will give you -12. -2 cube is -8. -12 minus -8 is -12. This 2 minus will become a plus. -12 plus 8. And -12 plus 8 is -4. So that's how we got -4 there. And you do the same, you will put -5. And when you put 0, and then you would, so you put -1, it gives you -5. You will put 0, it gives you 0. And you put 1, and it gives you 5. And you plot the points on the graph. You must plot at least 4 of the points to get the full mark for the graph. 2 marks for plotting these graphs. So 0, 0 is easy to plot in the middle there. 1, 5. 1 to the right, 5 up, you plot that. 2 to the right, 4 up, you plot that. -2 to the left, -4 down, you plot that point. And once you've plotted all the points, you join them not with a ruler. Do not use a ruler, use a smooth curve and draw it. Question number 10. Lina spins a bias 5-sided spinner 40 times. Her results, here are her results. Score 1, 6 times. Score 2, 8 times. Score 3, 9 times. Score 4, 7 times. And score 5, 10 times. Lina is now going to spin the spinner another 2 times. Work out an estimate for the probability that she gets a score of 5 both times. So you want to find probability of getting a score of 5. So the total, let's add the total score. 6 plus 8 plus 9 plus 7 plus 10. You add all of the frequency, it gives you 40. And the probability of getting a 5, there's 10 of chances of a 5. 10 divided by the total of 40, it gives you 1/4 for the first time to get a 5. The second time, if you get a 5, it will still be 1/4. So 1/4 times 1/4, it gives you 1/16. 4 times 4, 16. Derek is going to spin the spinner a large number of times. Work out an estimate for the percentage of times Derek can expect to get a score of 1. We want an estimate, want a percentage, and want a score of 1. So when we find the proportion of ones, how many ones did they get? 6 out of a total of 40. So 6 ones out of a total of 40. Simplify that, half of 6 is 3, half of 40 is 20. Change that to percentage, you multiply by 100%. You change to percentage, you multiply by 100%. So the way to do it is 100 divided by 20 is 5. 5 times 3. It gives you 15%. Question number 11. Describe fully the single transformation that maps shape P onto shape Q. So the key word there is fully and the single transformation. So we want to go from shape P to shape Q. We want to go from the larger shape to the smaller shape. That shape is a trapezium. From the large trapezium to the small trapezium. How many times smaller is it? So we count 1, 2, 3. 1. So it goes from 3 to 1. So it goes from 3 to 1. So the scale factor is 1/3. If you count this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, and then 1, 2, 3. From 9 to 3, so it's 3 divided by 9, which is 1/3. I'm counting the corresponding sides. So we call it an enlargement. The scale factor is 1/3, and the center is where those 3 lines meet. So the center meets the 0, 2. And you must have those 3 things to get the full mark. You have to say enlargement, you have to give the scale factor, and you have to give the center. Question number 12. Solve the simultaneous equations. 5x plus 2y equals to 11 and 4x plus 3y equals to 6. Eliminate either variable. I always try to eliminate the first variable, which is x. So the first thing I want to do, I want to make x the same. The number in front of x there is 5, and the number in front of x there is 4. So I want to get a number, a multiple of 5 and 4, which will be the same. So I'll use 20. So if I want to make this first one 20, I times by 4. 5 times 4 will make 20. And if I want to make the other one 20, it'll be 4 times 5. So I'll times by 4 for the first and times by 5 for the next ones. So that will be 5 times 4, 20. 2 times 4, 8. And 4 times 11, 44. And then 4 times 5, 20. 5 times 3, 15. 5 times 6, 30. Now, because x is now the same, eliminate means you subtract now, and x will disappear. X will become 0, and the variable was x. So the eliminate now is a subtract. The variable is the x. So 20 minus 20 is 0. There's no more x. X is gone. 8 minus 15 is minus 7y. Minus 7, and then there's the y. 44 minus 30 is 14. This is minus 7 times y. What's the opposite of times minus 7 divided by minus 7? 14 divided by minus 7 is minus 2. So y is minus 2. Now we got y. There's 2 answers. We need what to find x. We take the answer for y, minus 2, and substitute it into the one of the equations. I'll use the second one. So the minus 2 will come there. We'll put it there. So we have 4x plus 3 times minus 2 equals to 6. 3 times minus 2 is minus 6. Is equals to 6. Take minus 6 to the right. It becomes plus 6. So minus 6 plus 6 is 12. 4 times x is 12. X is 3. So your 2 answers, x is 3 and y is minus 2. Question number 13. P is inversely proportional to t. Complete the table of values. So the given value of t is 100, p is 1. So p is inversely proportional to t. So you will write it, the inversely proportional sign is, you write inversely proportional is that alpha and 1 over t. Inversely means 1 over. And then you have the proportional sign, alpha. The proportional sign is the alpha, and the inverse is the 1 over the t. We replace that alpha with equals to k, where k is a constant. Swap the alpha for equals to k. So now you have an equation because you've put equal to now. When you have an equation, you can swap in numbers and work them out. So we want to find what k is. We can put p is 100, t is 100, p is 1. Solve that equation. The opposite of times, divide by 100 on the right. If you take it to the left, times 100, so k is 100. So this is the equation written down. P is equal to 100 divided by T. Now we can start to complete the table. P is 100 divided by T. So when T is 25, you will put the 25 there. So it'll be 100 divided by 25. It gives you 4. When P is 5, what is T? So if we make T the subject, T is 100 divided by P. So we would have put the 5 underneath. 100 divided by 5 is 20. And when T is 2, what is the value for P? Put the 2 there. 100 divided by 2 is 50. And that's how you complete the table. Question number 14. The table shows information about the weights in grams of some potatoes. The weight in grams, between 50 and 70 grams, there were 20 potatoes. Between 70 and 80 grams, there's 50 potatoes. On the grid, draw a histogram for this information. To draw a histogram, you need to calculate something they call frequency density. And frequency density, using the formula in the triangle I've given there, FD for frequency density is the frequency divided by the class width. What do we mean by class width? Class width is the size or the width of the class. So for example, the first one, 70 minus 50 is 20. That's the class width. For the second one, 80 minus 70 is 10. So that's what we call class width. And frequency is how many there are. So to calculate the frequency density for the first one, there are 20 divided by the class width. 20 divided by 20 is 1. For the second, 50 divided by 10 is 5. Next one, 10 divided by 60 divided by 10. And then finally, 30 divided by 20 is 1.5. Now the frequency density is always plotted on the y-axis and the weight always on the x-axis. So we want to go 50 to 70 and the height is 1. So you divide the scale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the next one, 70 to 80 and the height is 5, the green one. The next one, which is the blue one, you plot it, and the last one, which is the brown, it goes up to 1.5. So you got to be careful with that when you plot it. From 90 to 110. Question number 15. The diagram shows a sector of a circle of radius 18 centimeters. That's the sector there. Radius is 18 centimeters. That's the radius there. The length of the arc is 4 pi. That's the arc there. It's 4 pi centimeters. 4 pi centimeters. Work out the value of x. What they want us to find is the angle. They want us to find the angle there, x. So what you want to do is you want to use this formula. The ratio of the arc length divided by the circumference. So the arc length is, I'll write it fully, arc length divided by the circumference, which is 2 pi r. So part of the circle divided by the total circle. So if I were to complete a circle, so you can see, not like that. Let's see. So imagine a circle. So the part of the arc of the circle divided by the circumference is equals to the angle x divided by the total angle. And you want to solve that equation. You know the arc length is 4 pi. You know the radius is 18. You solve this side and then times by 360 to get the angle. So that is how you do it. And you can use cross multiply. 4 pi times 360 is equals to 2 pi r times x. To get it to a linear form, and then you want to make x the subject, you take 2 pi r to the left, becomes divided by 2 pi r. So you simplify all of that, you get 40. The pi's would cancel. 36 divided by 18 is 2, and then you add that 0. So you got 360 divided by 18 is 20. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2, and the 2 times that 20, it gives you 40. So the angle x there is 40 degrees. Question number 16, part A. Prove that this left side is equals to the right-hand side. So we have the left-hand side. You want to prove that it's equals to the right-hand side. So what they're asking you to do is to change this left-hand side to look like the right-hand side. So it's a lot of algebra there, but it's not difficult because you want to start by looking at the first one, 2m plus 1 squared. When they say squared, that means you write it twice. And then now you multiply 2m times m, 2m times 1, 1 times 2m, 1 times 1. This is expanding a double bracket. And that will give you this second expression. You go to the next one, 2n minus 1 squared. So I do them separately to keep my work neat. 2n minus 1 squared, you write it twice, 2n minus 1 times 2n minus 1. You expand it using first, outer, inner, and last, FOIL. When you expand it, you get this expression. Now we want the first one that we got minus the second one. This is where you have to write it out very neatly. The first one minus the second one. So that's the first one there. And that's the second one. We want to subtract them. When you are subtracting them, we start by putting the 2m plus 2m together. 2m plus 2m, it gives you 4m. We do minus 2n for November. Minus 2n, n for November, minus 2n for November, it gives you minus 4n. So we have, when you go to subtract them, you want to remove this bracket there. This is the point to be very careful when you remove those brackets. Imagine there's an invisible 1 there. So minus 1 times 4n squared is minus 4n squared. Minus 1 times minus 4n for November is plus. The minus and the minus would make a plus, and that is where mistakes can easily happen. I'll highlight that plus there. And then the minus 1 times plus 1, it becomes a minus 1. Minus and plus becomes minus. Now you can subtract. The ones would cancel each other. 1 take away 1 would be 0. So we are left with 4m squared plus 4m minus 4n squared plus 4. So you see they all have 4, 4, 4, 4 in all of them. So we can take that 4 out of the bracket. We'll take the 4 out of the bracket. And then the first one, we have m squared minus n squared. And then we have m for mother plus m for Mike and n for November. So what do we do now? M for Mike minus n for November, M for Mike squared minus N for November squared. This is what we can still expand this one using a method called the difference of two squares. And then we can write it as M plus N, bracket M for Mike minus N for November, plus this M plus N. So if we factorize again, the M plus N in yellow and the M plus N in yellow can come out of the bracket. And you're left with M minus N plus 1. This one was like, this is times 1. So that 1 comes there. And there's this M minus N, M minus N. Part B, Sophia says that the result in part A shows that the difference of the squares of any two odd numbers must be a multiple of 4. Is Sophia correct? You must give reasons for your answer. Yes. An explanation would be 2M plus 1, 2N for November minus 1 are odd numbers. So that's an odd number, that's an odd number. So for any positive integer of M and N, and the right-hand side is a multiple of 4. If you see that 4 times something is a multiple of 4. So what we see there is 4 times M plus N bracket M minus N. When you multiply by 4, it's a multiple of 4. 4 times 1, 4 times 2, 4 times 3. As long as it's a 4 in front, it's a multiple of 4. And I've put underneath here the difference of two squares. When we factorized, when we use that difference of two squares there, this might help you to learn this formula. A squared minus B squared, A plus B, A minus B. So when you factorize, you go into two brackets. So factorize, go into two brackets. And when you expand, you come back, and you remove the brackets. So learn this difference of two squares. Practice these two examples underneath. Question number 17. Work out the value of 8 over 27 to the power 4 over 3. The key here is I'd use this method. I look at the number in the power, the one which is under the 4 there is 3. That 3 there is the key for me. I think of how many times, what number do you multiply? What you want to get 8 as 2 cubed. And you want a number you multiply by itself 3 times because of that 3 there to get 8. So that number will be 2. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. There's 1, 2, 3 of them. So you write it as 2 to the power 3. So you change 8 as 2 to the power 3. 27 is 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So you write 27 as 3 to the power 3. Now you remove the bracket and do the numerator separately. So it's 2 to the power 3 times 4 over 3. And the denominator 3 to the power 3 times 4 over 3. 3 times 4 over 3, the 3 will cancel, and you're left with 4. 2 to the power 4. 2 to the power 4 is 16. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. And 3 to the power 4 is 81. So your answer is 16 over 81. If you want to do it another way, you can use this formula there, which is circled down there. And you can use that formula, and putting it in that formula, you will find the cube root of 8 over the cube root of 27, and then put it to the power 4. So what's the cube root of 8? It's 2. What's the cube root of 27? It's 3. And then it'll be 2 to the 4, 3 to the 4, which is 16 over 81. Question number 18. A and B are points on a circle. The center is 0. GBC is a tangent to the circle at B. Angle AOB is equal to x degrees. Show that angle ABC is half degrees. You must give a reason for each stage of your working. So the first thing, let's go into that circle and zoom in. There's a triangle. What type of triangle is it inside the circle? It's an isosceles triangle. So you want to know the type of triangle is an isosceles triangle. So the first thing you know is an isosceles triangle. Two angles are the same. The base angles are the same. Those two angles there. Very important. And this one is the radius. And that's the radius. Those two sides are the same, and the two base angles are the same. The line DBC is a tangent, and that line it makes an angle of 90 degrees. So the radius and the tangent make an angle of 90 degrees. So radius and tangent make an angle of 90 degrees. So angle OBC, the letter B is in the middle, so that will represent the angle. OBC is 90 degrees. Is that angle they have leveled? OBC is 90 degrees. Angle OBA. OBA is that little angle there which we need to find. And how do we get that? The triangle has three angles. So X, OBA, and OAB. When you add all of them, it makes 180. So 180 degrees minus X divided by 2 to get those two angles. So that will give you OBC, OBA, and OAB. That one. So angle ABC is 90 minus OBA. So if I zoom in, so angle ABC, which is this angle here, because all of this is 90, it will be 90 minus this one, OBA. So angle ABC is 90 minus the angle OBA. So I think I'll put some colors on it so that you can see. I would make the angle we want red in color. So ABC is this red angle. I'll shade it red. The angle ABC in red, we want to get it by getting 90, which is the total angle. 90 minus, what color can I use? This angle in green. So 90 degrees minus the green angle will give you the red angle. 90 degrees minus the green angle will give you the red angle. And then we want to simplify that expression. So 90 degrees minus the green angle. That's the green angle there. I'll color that one in green. 90 degrees minus the green angle will give you the red angle. So remove 180 divided by 2 is 90. Minus times minus x is plus x over 2. And 90 minus 90 is 0. So you end up with half x. Question number 19. Solve 1 over x minus 1 over x plus 1 equals to 4. Give your answer in the form a plus or minus b root 2, where a and b are fractions. So what you can do is you can write the 4 as 4 divided by 1. And before you do that, we can put the two fractions together, the left-hand side, the two together. The common denominator is x and x plus 1. So x and x plus 1, when you divide by 1, it stays the same. When you divide by x and then multiply by 1, you get x plus 1. When you divide by x plus 1, the x plus 1 disappears, and you multiply by 1, you get the x. So now, since they have a common denominator, x bracket x plus 1, we put the two together, x bracket x plus 1, and then the numerator together. X minus x is 0. So x minus x is 0. So you get 1 over x bracket x plus 1 equals to 4 over 1. The technique to do now is we use cross multiplication. Learn this method. A over b is equals to c over d. When you cross multiply, a times d is equals to b times c. So that means 1 times 1 across should be equals to 4 times x bracket x plus 1. You remove the bracket, 4x times x, 4x squared. 4x times 1 is 4x. Now you put everything to one side. So 4x squared plus 4x. Plus 1, take it to the right, it becomes minus 1. It becomes 4x squared plus 4x minus 1 equals to 0. Now we need to solve that. You go to your formula book and you use the quadratic formula. The number in front of x squared is 4, so a is 4. The number in front of x is 4, b is 4. The numbers without x is minus 1, so c is minus 1. Substitute that into the quadratic formula. So b is 4. Substitute 4 for b. Substitute a for c. And then, substitute 4 for b. And then 4 for a. Minus 1 for c. And then 4 for a. And then we start to simplify. 4 squared is 16. Minus 4 times 4 is minus 16 times minus 1, which will give you plus 16. So the 16 plus 16, it gives you 32. Then minus 4 plus or minus square root of 32 by 8. To simplify it, you do minus 4 divided by 8 is minus a half. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So that gives you minus a half. And then you simplify square root of 32 over 8. So square root of 32 over 8. You can write it as square root of 16 times square root of 2 over 8. What's the square root of 16? 4 over 8, and then root 2. 4 divided by 8 is a half. Half root 2. So that's why we got minus a half plus or minus a half root 2. And that's how you do it for a non-calculator paper. Question number 20. Alfie has 11 cards. He has 3 blue cards, 7 green, and 1 white. Alfie takes at random 2 of these cards. Work out the probability that he takes cards of different colors. Find the probability of 2 cards of different colors. What are the colors we have there? Blue, green. Okay, I'll write white with black color, because you can't really write white color white. You wouldn't see it. So blue, green, and white. Now you can pick blue and green. If you pick blue, it's 3 out of 11 altogether, because it's total of 11. So if you've taken a blue, you can take a green, it will be 7. But why is it out of 10 now? Because you've already taken a blue, so it will reduce by 1. So if there's 11 in total. When you take 1, you get to 10. So if you take a blue, 3 out of 11, and you go for a green, and now there will be 10 left, so 7 out of 10. Or you can take a blue, 3 out of 11, and then take a white, 1 out of 10. It's 10 now. Remember, it goes down whenever you take the first one out. You can take a green, 7 out of 11, and then after that, a blue will be 3 out of 10. You carry on for the different pairs. So blue and green, you multiply it together. 3 times 7 is 21. 11 times 10 is 110. 3 times 1 is 3. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 1 is 7. And you want to add all of them because the denominator is all the same, 110. You add the top numbers. 21 plus 21, 42. 7 plus 3 is 10. 7 plus 3 is 10. So 42 plus 10 plus 10 is 62 over 110. The diagram shows a sketch of part of the curve with equation y equals to cos x degrees. P is a minimum point on the curve. Write down the coordinate of P. Minimum is the lowest point, and that is P there, the minimum, the lowest point. And this is a cosine graph. A cosine graph starts from 1, and this would be 90, 180, 270, 360 degrees, and the process is repeating. So that lowest point is 180 degrees and minus 1. Question number 22. Here is a triangle ABC. Work out the value of sine ABC. Give your answer in the form M for Mike over N for November, where M and N are integers. The key here is to use the sine rule. Find the angle. So when we use the sine rule, it says 6.5 over sine ABC. So the angle we're looking for, I'll color that angle yellow. We're looking for that yellow angle there at the top. Sine ABC. So because B, that's the angle we're looking for. So it's 6.5 divided by sine of the angle we're looking for is equals to 10.7 divided by sine of the angle. So I put the formula for the sine rule there, and that should be given to you in the formula book. You don't use all three, you just pick the 2 of them and use at a time. To solve this, we can cross multiply. So that means 6.5 times sine 30 is equals to sine ABC times 10.7. And then you can divide by 10.7, rearrange it. You must remember this, sine 30 is 0.5 or a half. You must memorize this. You are not given that in the formula book. And the way to remember that, you can use this isosceles, this equilateral triangle, where that's 30. That's 31, 2. Sine 30 is opposite of hypotenuse. It's a half. So sine of ABC would be 6.5 times 0.5 over 10.7. How do we simplify this without a calculator? So you can do 6.5. You can change the 0.5 to a half. It's easier that way. So you get 6.5 times 1 is 6.5. 10.7 double it times 2 is 21.4. To get rid of the decimal, you multiply by 10. 6.5 times 10, the decimal point goes from 65. 21.4 times 10 is 214. So you're giving it in a fraction form m over n. Here are the first 5 terms of a geometric sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Work out the next term of the sequence. You need to identify the common ratio. Common ratio is what do you multiply with to get from the first one to the second, from the second to the third, from the third to the fourth. So the common ratio is the second one divided by the first. So 10 divided by root 5. Or the third one divided by the second. 20 root 5 divided by 10. 20 divided by 10 is 2. So you get 2 root 5. So the common ratio is 2 root 5. So you multiply by 2 root 5 to go from one term to the next. So to go from root 5 to 10, you multiply by 2 root 5. So the next term would be, we multiply 400 root 5 times 2 root 5. 400 times 2 is 800. Root 5 times root 5 is 5. 800 times 5 is 4,000. Root 5 is the same as 5 to the half times 5 to the half. Half plus half is 1. So it's 5 to the 1. That's how we got the 5 there, 5 to the 1. 800 times 5 is 4,000. The fourth term of a different geometric sequence is 5 root 2 over 4. The sixth term of the sequence is 5 root 2 over 8. Given that the terms of this sequence are all positive, work out the first term of this sequence. You must show all your working. So let's list the terms of a geometric sequence. The first one, we call it A, because once you list them, so this A is the first, and the second one, that's the first. The second one, we call it AR. The third one, AR squared. The fourth one, AR cubed. The fifth one, AR to the 4. The sixth, AR to the 5. And the 7, AR to the 6. If you notice, the arrow is, when it's the third, the arrow squared is 2. When it's 4, it's 3. When it's 5, 4. Now, let's do the ratio. The sixth term divided by the fourth. The sixth one is A arrow 5 divided by the fourth, A arrow 3. Very important to watch this because that's where it makes a lot of sense. The A will cancel with each other. 5 take away 3 is 2. So now when we divide them, we get arrow squared. So the sixth one divided by the fourth. So what we do is, this is the 6, and this is the fourth, and this is the 6. So now we want to divide it. You would have the sixth one, 5 root 2 over 8. Change the divide to a times. Remember, change the divide to a times and flip the fraction. So it becomes 4 over 5 root 2. 5 root 2 will cancel. And 4 divided by 8, half of 4, 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So you end up 1 over 2. So your common ratio, arrow squared, is equals to 1 over 2. But we want to get the common ratio arrow. So the inverse of squared is square root of a half. Square root of a half is square root of 1 divided by square root of 2. Square root of 1 is 1, and then have square root of 2. The common ratio is 1 over root 2. But we need to find A, the first term. So what we have found is R, but we need to find A. So we go to the fourth term. We said AR cubed is 5 root 2 over 4. We got A there, we want to find A. We substitute what R is. R is 1 over root 2. and then there's the cube is equal to that. We need to solve that equation for A. So it is times that. We take it to the right, it becomes the right. And we change the divide to times, and then flip this fraction. So it becomes root 2 cube over 1 cube. 1 cube is just 1. Now we multiply the numerator. 5 times no whole number, there's just 5. Root 2 times root 2 cube. Now there's one of them there, there's 3 there. 1 plus 3 is 4. So it's root 2 to the power 4. And then 4 times 1 cube is 4. Root 2 to the power 4 is the same as root 2 is 2 to the power half. 2 to the half times to the power 4 is half times 4 is 2. So the 2 squared. So that means 5 over 4 times 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And then you're left with A to be 5. Last but not least, here is a solid sphere and a solid cone. So the sphere and the cone, they're giving you the volume of the sphere, 4 over 3 pi radius cube, and volume of the cone, 1/3 pi r squared h. All measurements are in centimeters. The volume of the sphere is equal. The key thing here is equal to the volume of the cone. Find the ratio of r is to h. Give your answer in the simplest form. You want to equate the two volumes because they say they are equal. So the volume of the sphere, 4 over 3 pi r cubed. Volume of the cone, 1/3 pi r squared h. We can cancel out what is common in both of them. We can cross out the pi. There's 3, 1/3, 1/3, we cross that out. So we are left with 4r cubed. There's r squared there, r cubed there. So we can remove r squared from the left and remove r squared from the right. So we're left with r, we're left with 4, and we're left with h. And if you divide by 4, you get r is equal to h over 4. So the ratio is 1:4. Here is a different solid sphere and different solid cone. Surface area of the sphere is 4 pi radius squared, and curved surface area of cone is pi RL. All measurements are in centimeters. The surface area of the sphere is equal to the total surface area of the cone. Find r is to h. Give your answer in the form 1:√n, where n is an integer. You want to equate the surface areas because they said they are equal. So for the sphere, the formula is given there, 4 pi r squared. For the cone is made up of the circle part and the curved surface. So the circle part is underneath, and the area of the circle, you must remember that pi radius squared. And the curved part is given to you, pi radius times L. But we don't know what L is. We need to find L. So if we look at that shape, we can see a triangle there. And L is that slant height. We have H and we have R. We use Pythagoras. So L is square root of H squared plus R. So we want to replace L in that formula. So the 4 pi radius squared stays the same. Pi radius squared stays the same. Pi radius stays the same. Replace L with square root of H squared plus L squared. Now, what do we want to do? We want to isolate the term in R squared after we substitute for L. So what we start to do, we start to simplify. We can cross out the pi's. The pi has gone. Now we'll be left with 4r squared plus r with that. So the pi is gone. 4r squared minus r squared gives you 3r squared. So we have 3r squared is equal to r bracket s squared plus r squared. Now we cross out one of the r. This cancels and this cancels. We'll just wait for 1r. To get rid of the square root on the right, we square both sides. So we can square the left side and square the right side. So it becomes 3r squared is equals to h squared plus r squared. 3 squared is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. And then r squared. And we take plus r squared to the left, it becomes minus r squared. So what's 9 minus r squared? 9 minus 1 r squared would be 8. 9 minus 1 is 8. R squared is equals to h squared. We square root of both sides. The square root of the h squared, it becomes h. Square the left root of the left, so it becomes square root of 8. And square root of r squared will give you r. So h is equals to square root of 8 root r, which you can write as 1 is to root 8.